freshest edition of the OH.Report Video Podcast. So ripe and fresh, it's pretty much like you're just grabbing us right off the vine, and we're bringing it to you right here, live and free, exclusively on your place for high school sports in North Central Ohio and beyond, the OH.Report. March Madness basically feels like it's in the air this time of year. It's really nice outside. Tournament trails heating up, of course, for the boys and the ladies now at regional, so there's lots to talk about, and basically this entire episode, I think all we are going to dive into is the high school hoops tournament trail, what we've seen so far, what we're expecting to see coming up, and oh so much more. As the little graphic I think showed a little bit earlier, my name is Brian Skoronsky. I'm going to be hosting today, and I got Hayden Gray with me here in studio. So, man, crazy last couple of weeks, nonstop basketball. Hayden, how did you spend your Sunday, your lone day, not in a gym?
It was a little bit nice. We talked about the weather. There was some sunshine out there, so took the dog on a walk, gave her a bath, went to the grocery store. It was a fulfilling Sunday.
Yeah, nice little Sunday, huh? I like that. A little trip to the grocery store, get the bare necessities, the essentials. What does that look like in a gluten-free household?
Expensive. That's what it looks like. Ridiculously expensive, but, you get your bread.
Is it like an $8 loaf or more?
It's usually the low level is like $6.
Whew.
But I try and get in and out as quick as possible. The Sunday crowd at grocery stores I dislike. So
yeah, and I used to be one of those people. I would go down every single aisle at the grocery store. I just wanted to bump into folks and not necessarily even pick out my favorite foods. But thanks to ClickList, and they just bring it right to your car now, I don't think I've gone out shopping in the grocery store in several months. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
But I've definitely never gone down the gluten-free aisle and checked it out. But the prices, it's
pretty barren.
Pretty hot. Not a lot of options.
No, not a lot of people though. So if you need some peace, then there you go.
To know. Well, it's going to be me and Hayden, and then Travis Big League Berardi is going to be joining us as well. He's going to be calling in live from Chuck City, so looking forward to hearing from Trav, and we're going to be checking in with the Lady Buckettes of Buckeye Central. Man, what a run that whole entire community has been on with the girls basketball team. I think they've renamed themselves at Titletown now, right?
That's the slogan we're going with on the T-shirt this year, and I think that is justifiable.
A T-shirt that me and you didn't receive so far. It's just Travis. So not sure what's up with that, Abram Capel. So if you got some extras,
I don't know if Travis has gotten it yet, but I was at least confirmed that they would be on the way. So it's on Travis if it doesn't get delivered to us, and we know how to contact Travis. Luckily, so
yeah. Just go to the nearest McDonald's drive-thru, and you're about 50% chance that you'll find them there, and if not, down the street picking up some snacks or a Mountain Dew somewhere, right?
Yeah.
That's about right.
There's nothing else to say.
All right, man. Give me a couple nuggets here. So basically, you and I, we've been in gyms nonstop for 2 weeks. We've seen 2 rounds of ladies action. The gentlemen got their tournament started, of course, last week. So what are some of the coolest things that you would say that you've seen? Not even necessarily like in the game. Maybe it was a crazy fan or a wild coach, something that you saw at the concession stand. Give me some insight about some of the best that you've seen at a high school gym here during playoff season.
I definitely across the board have been content with attendance and crowds that I've been at. Who doesn't love a tournament atmosphere? So it doesn't matter the team or the community have been covering so far. The crowds have been awesome, so that always gives you it gives the athletes a boost. But I think anyone in the gym, whether you're on the media side or whatever you're doing, that gives you a boost. So that's been really exciting to see. I've been a big fan of some of the play that I've been seeing from the athletes. We'll look at it eventually, but my top moment so far was Braxton Baker's poster in Colonel Crawford's game the other night. That definitely caught my eye. And honestly, some of the gyms that I haven't been in yet from last postseason, it was actually my first trip to Worcester High School. That was super impressive to check that out. Travis and I went down to Westerville. That was a gym we hadn't been in yet. So the sightseeing has been fun as well.
Yeah, you're going to start marking a lot of new places off of your list the deeper and deeper that you get into the tournament run. And, yeah, big shout out to Braxton for getting that dunk because I talked to him last week at practice, and he had made Joe Baylog's list of 6 best dunkers in the area. And he's like, don't tell Joe, but I haven't dunked that many times this season. So he had an awesome one to help establish himself and be worthy of the list, I think.
Yeah. I think we talked on the way up for his interview, and I think that was just his second successful dunk this
That's
year.
what he said. Just two.
He's got the hops within him. It just had some of the opportunities haven't been there yet. But yeah, he was, I think, got a little bit more credibility towards being on that list. Hopefully he feels a little bit more deserving.
Yeah, I've seen some great things, of course, over the last couple of weeks. I want to begin Thursday. Natalie Lance on the sideline. She's a fiery lady, but she was in rare form against Norwalk. Everybody that was in the building, I think, would agree. She was in the defensive stance most of the night. She was trolling up and down that sideline, and then at the end of the game, her team did not successfully run the out-of-bounds play that she wanted, and I saw her do a bottle flip with the cap off and the water just flying all around. She couldn't even hold in her own emotions, so that was great. And then Saturday, and actually even Thursday, the nightcap of that one, the little kid pirate that came out for Sandusky Perkins. What a troll this kid was. He just had a sign that said, "We believe." He went and stood for the district championship warm-up right in front of the Norwalk coaches with his sign for the other team.
That's great.
Cheering on his girls, and he was basically a one-guy student section as probably like a 7-year-old. Yeah, he had his snacks.
Love
He
it.
had to get his homework done in between quarters and stuff. So a big shout-out to that pirate. If you know whose kid that was, bravo. He's really getting it done. And also, because I'm a paid spokesman now for them, the Macho Nachos over at Madison. I said that I would say it 6 times on air to receive my free pork nachos. Totally worth it. They were delicious. They put cheese on top of it, a little bit of barbecue sauce. You can get it with jalapenos, without, banana peppers, the whole 9 yards. So unfortunately, no more tournament games over at Madison this year. But if they have the concessions open during baseball and softball season, get you some Macho Nachos. Unbelievable stuff. And yeah,
sounds great.
Well, I'm a paid spokesman. I'm told I didn't have to pay for
Yeah,
them.
that's
So
how it works.
yeah, I'm paying for them right now on air. Have you had the best concession stand food this year, or are you even allowed to get into that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it just depends. You can't go for like the sandwiches unless you want to just waste the bun, which is probably half the cost.
Sure.
I've had my share of popcorn throughout the year. I honestly don't have the best memory to recall where it's been best. Honestly, I really haven't got much out of the woodwork other than popcorn. So I've been kind of boring on concessions, but you know, they sometimes I was pretty upset with myself. The most impressive concessions I've seen was definitely Cary. They had some fundraisers going on, so I don't know if it was more excessive than it is on a normal night. But I mean, they had mac and cheese with like pork on it. They had some
Okay, Blue
and
Devils.
it was against Mohawk too, and I got to give them credit. You could go ahead and inflate those prices at a sold-out game and make buku dollars. Popcorn was still just a $1, so shout out to Cary for keeping it real, man. I was pretty impressed by that.
Let's go. Yeah, we need to bring in Keaton Cooper for this one
Yes.
because every game he's been at on my crew, he goes and he gets a bag of popcorn. And we joked about it that we were going to do a segment, Keaton's Kernels or something, and he was going to give us his list of the top 5 best. So at some point, we do need to get him on the podcast. He's the most famous intern easily ever.
Easily.
A junior at Colonel Crawford. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. Everyone seems to know Keaton somehow. Unbelievable. But I think your Cary is a good segue into our first topic today, Hayden. We're going to talk about the most surprising early tournament exits so far from teams that we had a high priority list in terms of we thought that they were really going to make a nice, decent run through the tournament. So I guess I'll start, and I'll begin with those Cary Blue Devils. And, man, as the number 3 seed and as the outright Northern 10 champions and as a team that you look at that resume, my goodness, how many big wins do they have? And then their 3 losses during the regular season, all really, really good teams. So don't want to knock them because they had to play the number 4 seed in Liberty Benton. But I was fully anticipating being able to go and cover some district basketball this week for the Blue Devils, who I've grown to love watching them this year. They're overly athletic at every position. They've got great guard play, a couple of coaches' kids out there. They can shoot the 3, and then they lose a 1-point nail-biter to Liberty Benton in their sectional championship game. So I got to tell you, I got a little bit of blues over the Blue Devils not making it out of their first tournament game.
Yeah, that definitely stinks. The one game when I was able to catch them in person this year was when they played Mohawk, and I definitely can agree with you because when I saw the way they shut down the District Player of the Year, was just named the Northern 10 Player of the Year, AJ Hess, they held them scoreless. And like you said, they got athletes all over the floor. They're well coached. Their coach was Coach of the Year in the Northern 10. So, yeah, they did kind of have a tough opponent, but still, I think we were kind of expecting a little bit more. So, a tough end of the season for those guys.
Anybody else come to mind for you, a team that we were expecting to make a little bit of a deeper run that is no longer available on the bracket?
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go to the girls' side, and it would be the TY Tigers out of Mansfield. And for me, primarily, why I think that it was an early exit for them. Again, they had some tough matchups, as did Cary, but just strictly looking at the personnel they had, too, the roster was about as good as you could ask for in the area. The good news for them, I'll lead with that, is they just graduate Kaya Wentz. An incredible ball player she is, so she will be missed, but you get to bring back 4 other players in that starting lineup that had a ton of experience. Kirsten Bradley, Minetta Hillary, and the list goes on. I'm blanking on a few right now, but they had that tough matchup, as you're seeing right now, against Norwalk, and, I mean, led for a lot of the game. We'll talk about this game a little bit later on in the podcast, too, but I just think from that standpoint that they got a lot of talent. That's why they'd be an early exit.
I couldn't agree more. They've got a nucleus and a roster that's been in the starting lineup for the last 3 seasons. The junior class is absolutely loaded. I love the sophomore Annalise Norris. They can bomb on you, they can drive, they can dish, but they just made a really questionable decision to go against the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
I didn't quite grasp that, and then it's not even a rumor. We were told that they didn't have a bracket in front of them, so they just said, we'll go here. And then it turns out, well, here is against the team that is still playing right now and moving on to a regional. So it wasn't a great idea for the Tigers to want to go toe-to-toe with the Lady Truckers, but they had them down double figures, though, in that game in the 4th quarter and just couldn't get it done. However, the future is very bright. You just wonder who's going to end up coaching this team. The assistants right now that they had that were running the show during the tournament, I do not believe are wanting to put their name in. So who wants to step up and take this Lady Tiger job? That's going to be a big question mark moving them forward. So I think it was tough for them to exit early. I would agree with you. And I want to go to the boys' side real quick, and we didn't cover the game because we thought that we were going to get a chance to see them one more time in the sectional championship. Mansfield Christian laying a bit of an egg against St. Paul. They were the number 4 seed. This is a team I think won 15 games during the regular season, and then they go head-to-head with the number 11 seed or something. I think they were a lot lower, and that was a team that had lost 3 straight, 5 out of their last 6, was not playing good basketball. I saw them at the end of the year, super young. They got a bunch of sophomores in the lineup, and the Flames just couldn't get it done. So I think to me that was the biggest surprise team on the gentlemen's side, that really you didn't make it even into a sectional championship with a guy like that, Amar Davis, who can light you up for 30 on any given night. So kind of a bummer that we didn't get that local team into a weekend game.
Yeah, it does, and it's not a knock on them, but and it's not that the sectional title game has become kind of a yawn fest or just like not as significant. But when you have a guy, and I know they got a few other guys that could contribute, but you can almost bank on getting in if you have one of those guys that's like him, like Amar Davis.
More often than not,
you can usually get carried to at least a sectional title, and obviously that just proved to be too much. Obviously, any given night, anyone can beat anyone. The tournament's got crazy things, but I do think that would, on a scale, definitely lean more towards really, like, you kind of give it that glare when you see that they lost. I know we were a little bit unexpected of that matchup with turning into a Danbury St. Paul. We weren't really expecting that.
I guess you got to give credit to the Flyers for getting through to the districts, considering how their season, I think, just 9 wins for them during the regular campaign. So now 2-0 in the tournament time, and that's a team that they had a lot of trouble getting over the hump into the districts until just a couple of seasons ago when they did break through. So who knows? Sometimes there's got to be a Cinderella. The shoe fits every now and again. Could be the Flyers. We'll see. They've got a tough matchup, though, of course, coming up here really soon. This next, I think Wednesday is when they play.
I believe so.
Maybe it's even tomorrow. We'll have to look. We got a lot of games coming up.
It's a blur.
What about the best individual performances that you've seen? I mean, you just broke down Amar and what we came to expect. Who was there somebody that you were like, I know this kid can play, and then they went out and then they really proved it?
Well, I'll start with my most recent game that I was at. Well, technically it wasn't the most recent, but anyway, I'll start on the girls' side, and I'll talk about Kate Cecil, who, again, Travis will be over at their practice later today, but in the district semifinal game against South Central, broke her own record that was held by both her and Sydney Worm during the regular season. knocked down 8 3-pointers, 4 of those in the first quarter, and then the others coming in a mix between the second and third quarter. And then she was subbed out even with about 5 minutes left in the third quarter. So she put up 8 through 2.5 quarters. That's where all her points came from. She did have one crafty layup as well, so she finished with 28, but it just looks effortless. She's one of those spot shooters that you have to have that certain level of confidence anytime you're going to let it go. And I know Coach Capel said that he gets put in disbelief sometimes, but when she turns it on, once she gets in that mode, she doesn't miss, and we saw that in that game. So I was pretty much blown away. She followed that up on Saturday with 15 points and I think 2 or 3 3-pointers. So she definitely took home, especially with me being there with my own eyes on the game. That was the most impressive that I saw.
I want to be impressed, but I just watched the highlight of all 8 made threes, 0 contested.
Yeah, see,
what's going on?
That was the thing too. I was kind of astounded. This has happened to her before.
Watch how wide open she is. Every single. These are practice shots.
Yeah, when they played Mohawk. Mohawk was very resistant to get out of their zone too, and it's like, all right, well then just let her keep shooting. I told Coach Capel after the game, man, I kind of wish you left her in those other 8 minutes. She might have made 12 or 13 of them.
Right, like Dame Lillard last night. You see what that man did?
My
gosh.
So I think she can still, if some of these had a little bit more contested, I still think she gets close. But yeah, this is a warning now to every other team at the regional level. You would hope they're putting in a little bit more homework and know that you can't leave her side.
Yeah, dear upcoming coaches that are going to face the Buckettes, number 1 is a record setter. If you don't get a hand in her face, she's going to do that. 8 made trifectas, the second time this year that she's done it. She's pretty good. Pretty good from downtown. Another kid, though, that I got to mention, Max Dawson of Willard. Yes. I think he's the best individual athlete that I've covered this year on the high school hardwood because he doesn't force anything. What I love about Mad Max is he shoots it almost 40% from 3, so he's right there on that same level with Cecil. But his scoring, it comes naturally. He usually is a facilitator early in the game, and then late he decides to go to work. He had 29 points against Lexington and basically willed them back into the game to where they had a shot down the end to knock off Lexington and send them packing without a single tournament win under their belt. And this is the game that really set them apart against Galleon. They were down big in this one, and thanks to Mad Max, they came storming back. 33 points for him. He almost single-handedly put them back in a position to where Willard was in a opportunity where they could get into the game, and then some other guys like Cam Robinson, Isaac Robinson, they stepped up down the stretch, but they had no chance of winning if Max Dawson doesn't come out and have 20-plus points down the stretch in that game. He's unbelievable. The way that he can just dice up a defense like he's a sous chef. I love this kid to pieces, his game, what he brings, and he's so humble. Doesn't even like talking about the fact that he does what he does, just wants to always deflect. My teammates this. My coaches put me in a great position for that. So, yeah, really impressed with what I saw from number 3. And then also a big shout out to Brooklyn Davis. You talked about the Mansfield Lady Tigers. Well, This is the reason why they did not come out victorious. 23 points against Mansfield, but down at the end of the game when things really mattered the most. Look at all these tough shots that Brooklyn's making in traffic. She was getting steals. She had double-digit rebounds coming out of nowhere. And I heard so much chatter online about Brooklyn Davis's numbers aren't that good. Why isn't this girl the player of the year in the district? Or, look, this girl scores 5 more points a game. I don't understand why it's Brooklyn Davis. Well, it's because she's got so many intangibles that you can't really quantify. And then, oh, by the way, she'll score 23 against the Tigers, 24 and 11 against Shelby, knocking off the defending district champions. So this is a girl that I had not got the opportunity to see in person until last week. And now I'm a super fan. I can't wait to see her back at action again, to see where she takes her team moving forward. And I think they're a legitimate threat in the regionals because number 15 is just that good. And she makes all of her teammates better, always calm and cool. She's making huge plays at the end of the game here. And you notice her teammates are all excited. She's the one just keeping it cash.
Well, and that's exactly your kind of what you were bringing up about, oh, yeah, why didn't so-and-so get it? If they score more or average more per night in points or do this or do that, you can obviously tell that Davis is one of those that makes not only, makes her teammates around her comfortable, helps boost their confidence out on the floor together, but you don't always, I think that gets misunderstood. It's not all about scoring. When you have someone that's able to do that and just wants to win, whatever it takes to win, that is seen by the people who are picking these awards. So that means something. That goes to show something. Obviously, she has that quality to her game.
And what you just saw there, the clips from the Shelby game, that's a solo 6-0 run in less than 20 seconds at the end of the third quarter. Shelby did have the lead going into money time, or at least they thought they did, until Brooklyn Davis scored and then picked off back-to-back passes here by Shelby. Let's just see this run out one more time. That's off of a steal, pull-up, jumper, pure. She gets back on defense. Oh, you're going to make another dumb pass. Yep, I'm here. Bye. Banking it in, and that takes it into the third quarter horn to set up money time. I think that was the difference in the game. I want to give a lot of love, though, to the Shelby Lady Whippets. After I saw Norwalk in person go toe-to-toe with Mansfield Senior, that's really a tough team in terms of great ball handling, and they just got some kids that they're going to get in your face type of athletes. I didn't think Shelby was going to compete that good, and they were way better than expected. They had some guard play that it took me by surprise, so I do want to give an honorable mention note to Coach Lance's bunch for really stepping up to the occasion. I love what we saw from Trinity Baker. Demi Hipp was awesome down the stretch of that game, and they handled for the most part, kind of, because there was 50 combined turnovers in the game, like the pressure of Norwalk, but they at least matched it with their energy and effort on the other end. But now it's time to get to the part of the show where nobody really wants to be on it if you're on the losing end. The biggest upsets that we've seen, and since we were just talking a lot about Brooklyn Davis and her Norwalk Truckers, and we've shown a lot of the highlights already, let's just go ahead and roll that beautiful footage about what they did against Mansfield Senior and that comeback win to get themselves into the round of districts, because it looked bleak for them. Lady Tiger started running the show towards the end of the third quarter, and then they had a 12-point lead, 6.5 minutes to go, timeout taken by Norwalk, and after that point in the game, the Tigers scored 2 more points. They turned it over 7 times, and Norwalk put up a 20 spot the rest of the way to knock off Mansfield Senior and to become sectional champions. That was, I think, probably the best comeback that we saw, and how quickly the fortunes changed. It was really impressive to see how quickly it all came unglued for Mansfield and how Norwalk was able to put it all together just like that.
Yeah, I was pretty much blown away. That was one of the kind of the rare nights where my game was done and I was back home. So I'm like, yeah, I want to tune into this. This game had a lot of interest in it, and I remember looking at my wife going, oh, wow, looks like it's got to be Mansfield making it and then probably playing Shelby. Like, that would be pretty intriguing Richland County matchup.
All right.
I don't remember the exact moment. It was probably somewhere around this point right here. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can kind of tune out, not really pay much attention. And then a couple minutes later, I look down and I'm like, oh my gosh, Norwalk's really making this comeback right now. And those are the ones that make it worthy of the list, because not that what we know now about Norwalk, you could see it coming, but right then and there, it just looked like everything was going Seniors' way. They were playing one of their best games that they had, and it kind of seemed like they were going to get over that hump and probably get to play a game at Pete Henry, which would have been awesome for them. But, yeah, you got to give so much props, because it's easy for a team to shut down. Once you see that and you start to panic and you look at the scoreboard and try and chew off too much in one bite, and they handled it perfectly.
Yeah, that was an unbelievable stretch because of how well the Tigers were playing. So Norwalk, their ride continues. Of course, they're playing at Pete Henry tomorrow on the Tigers' home surface, looking to continue their ride into the regional championship. Just the second time that they have been district winners. What other game impressed you in terms of like a meltdown, or would you give a little bit more credit for your upcoming one for a comeback?
Well, I know one of the games that took place over at Madison, the Ontario Clearfork game, had a lot of, question marks around it, only because these two teams have both not necessarily disappointed, but they've made you think, and then they've wowed you in some other games. So while these two teams were going at it, this game had everything you wanted to see in terms of emotions and drama, because it was kind of a head scratcher. Like, both these teams, if either one moved on, they'd kind of be like a dark horse to give Shelby some kind of trap game run for their money. So this was one I didn't get to see take place, but hearing about it, the dramatics, the ups and downs, it's one of those where you saw like number of lead changes and it was just all over the place. So Ontario, that's a team that's had a lot of fight in them. They've done some impressive things. Like, I remember seeing their score against Crestview during the regular season and thinking, what? Yeah. So obviously their season came to an end when they took on Shelby, but they really had to fight because this is a Clear Fork team that has a lot of scrappy guys out there too.
This game was awesome. Ontario's the number 7 seed, Clear Fork the 11. MOAC rivals. Colts have been beaten twice during the regular season. The first time they played, I think it was a 60-point margin. It was that bad. And Ontario was down double figures to start the fourth. And not only that, their best player and leading scorer, Gage Weaver, he got kicked out the game because he got back-to-back technical fouls. And I was like typing in Clear Fork into the next round pretty much. And then all of a sudden, a 5-0 run by Grayson Purvis. You're checking out a nice little runner right there. And then big plays down the stretch by Bob Penn Miller and company. And then the Warriors come all the way back. They hit that ginormous 3 right there. That was basically the difference after this steal and score. An 82-77 unbelievable finish. And it set the stage for the next game that I want to talk about, because it was the game right after this one that I thought was an even more impressive comeback. And it, again, was the higher seed down, number 6 Willard, big to number 10 Galleon, thanks to the play Cooper Kent, Elijah Chafin. Those two guys combined for almost 50 points in the game. Joe Baylog, he couldn't even believe what we were seeing. If you go back and you run the second half highlights, my gosh, some of his commentary is great. So, I mean, here's a look right here. That was just a normal shot for those two. That's Chafin with the 3 off of the inbounds here. And now here's Kent. Yeah, I'll get an offensive rebound, back it out, get fouled, plus the hoop. But all of a sudden, the Flashes woke up. And this dude right here, who we already talked about, Max Dawson, he had a personal 9-0 run. This was easily the biggest portion of the game because it was 3 straight possessions, 3 straight threes by number 3, and then a team that looked like they were left for dead, roadkill on the side of the road. The buzzards were coming around. No, all of a sudden Willard got back into it, and they come storming back. And the 2 games there, 318 points combined, and both of them in the same exact final score. I did not realize that in real time, but 82-77. Both teams overcoming double-digit margins in the second half, in the fourth quarter, actually. So, man, what a way to set the table for a sectional championship weekend with those 2 games to tip it off at Madison.
I do recall getting to catch the tail end of that Willard Galleon, and I remember you saying yourself, like, a couple times how eerily similar it was to the first game, just between who was winning, the seeding, the matchups, and then these comebacks. And like you said, number 1, that 9-point individual run, I don't know. I'm speechless. That takes a lot of courage, and that takes a lot of skill to be able to pull that off from Dawson. And I remember the first time ever seeing Kent and Chafin play together. I dubbed them the Splash Brothers of Galleon because they're unreal. It's no reason, or it's no wonder why they had Baylog preaching. I mean, they're just they're wild, and it's not as like traditional as, they have the green light from coach to just go ahead and let it fly. And some teams don't have that, so that makes it super entertaining. I think I knew going in that these were going to be high-scoring games. We all had our eyes on this area, but goodness, it has not disappointed. It didn't disappoint. If anything, I think it kind of even blew us away from what we expected.
I didn't think that we would get as competitive games as we saw, and it's always fun to see the higher seed get put on the ropes, and how are you going to respond in the tournament environment where it's win or go home. And what's great for both of these teams in this game is that there's a lot of young players out there too. So the kids that were really balling out of control, all juniors in this one. And I love that you said Coach Baylog took them to church. My producer says that, hey, we've got the clip of Joe that was my favorite. Okay. I couldn't even hold it together when he had this call, but let's show you the play and then how our Hall of Fame coach had to react. Flash is switching everything on the perimeter.
Yep.
But at least of this.
Jesus, boy. Wow. They are shooting the lights out here in the third quarter.
So, at that time, Joe B, right after he hit that, right before he was like, Jesus, like we just both looked at each other and I lost it. I couldn't even hold it together on air because it was special to watch both Kent and Chafin. And hey, we get one more year of those two together.
Yeah, and I told him, all respect to the games that he and we spent 3 games together over at Willard for the girls' district semifinals and finals, and he had brought up the story of that call. He's like, I'm not sure if you heard me the other night, but I said, well, I can't promise you'll have any of those moments this weekend, Joe, but oh my goodness.
Yeah. Pretty hard to outdo those first couple of nights for the boys tournament. So the bar was set pretty darn high for me and Baylog moving forward, but hey, we're expecting some more fireworks as we get into that Division II district. And how much fun is that going to be? You look at who's left now. Mansfield Senior and Sandusky, they're going to be playing. They matched up at the end of the regular season in a really tight game that the Tigers, if they made a couple of more plays on the stretch, they could have had that one. And then Shelby and Lexington, another game that played out during the regular season, and Lexington got round 1. Can Shelby battle back and get round 2? I think there's a lot of juice going on out there.
There is. I mean, what's not entertaining about with the outlier being Sandusky, those 3 teams, Shelby, Mansfield, and Lexington, have all played each other at some point.
Right.
And so any combination is going to be interesting. But, yeah, I don't even know where to go with it yet. I'm kind of at a loss as far as who I would give the edge to. I know Lexington will still be out a couple of players. And, Shelby's got to be wanting to get back after that one. But, again, Mansfield Senior's been playing so great as of late, too. And then, of course, you got Sandusky, high-scoring, high-energy team. There's no reason these 2 games shouldn't live up to the same level of entertainment that the ones at Madison did or exceed it.
Yeah, I wonder if it's of benefit to Sandusky being the outsider that's only seen the one team so far. They don't know a lot in terms of scouting report about Lexington and Shelby if they are to advance into the championship round and get a shot at one of those. So sometimes I wonder if that's of benefit to you, not overthinking it and analyzing, well, in the first match, this is what happened, so we need to make these adjustments moving forward and change the X's and O's one way or the other. So it's definitely going to be really awesome to see that one all play out. And then 2, over in that Division IV Willard district, I think we're all kind of anticipating chalk, of course, with the top 2 seeds. But if we get any type of a game, round 2, Crawford-Lucas, if that becomes the matchup like we saw at the Cub Cave for that first meeting, wow, that was an awesome game that I think we'd all sign up for if it played out exactly that way again.
Oh man, and you probably expect that Lucas of all teams, like they seem like the ones that really they keep those newspaper clippings as motivation. They work extra harder because of what happened, because of losing on their home court. But then again, you got Crawford too. They're not just gonna, they're not just gonna fold and want to get beat. And even things when it matters more this time. Obviously, that felt good to get the job done on the road in the regular season, but it's the best time of the year for a reason. And those games that were great during the regular season even get elevated that much more because these guys don't want their season to end yet.
Yeah, and then over on the girls' side, we only have a couple of teams that we've been following whose seasons have not ended yet, and I believe that we finally do have Big League Travis Berardi. He is out in Titletown right now, hanging out with the Lady Buckettes and their head coach, Abram Capel. Do we got you guys? Can you hear me? So it doesn't look like we have audio coming through for you boys.
Can you hear
right
Big League?
now. We can see you, great-looking gentlemen.
That is a sweet shirt, Abram, but yeah, we can't hear you.
So if you want to check your audio settings out there for us, Trav, and then check back in with us here in a couple of minutes. So you've been basically on the Buckette train. So all last year you got to see this team, and now this year again. And, you know, when you graduate that many All-Ohioans and, you know, first-team All-District performers, sometimes there's a thought, hey, now, you know, maybe things are going to start slowing down. And it just hasn't happened for this team yet.
No, it hasn't. I think that was a lot of the question marks, you know. You lose Claudia Pfeiffer and Emily Cecil, both doing things at the collegiate level now. Excellent players, and so you kind of begin to wonder, all right, they'll return some experience, but will they have those same, you know, beasts on the court? And I think they've just continued to work from the experience they gained in the offseason last year, and they've put things together. Northern 10 champions yet again. Head coach Capel, Northern 10 Coach of the Year, Riley Concert, Player of the Year on the girls' side.
Sweep.
And just when you think that there's going to be some kind of lapse, they really – but I do think that's one of those where it works and it helps because not that it's anything negative, but you have some doubters after that. And I think that gave them – sometimes you're looking for when you have won that many district titles and had that success in previous years, probably as a coach you're looking for something to generate a little bit of noise to motivate your players. So I think that people kind of doubting would they be the same has motivated them this season, and they've just really done a nice job of playing difficult teams again, not, you know, challenging themselves, not trying to just play, you know, easier non-conference opponents to build up their wins this year. They've really challenged themselves again, and I think that's good to do because their district's not really the strongest once they get to the tournament. Neither is their sectional, so they've challenged themselves during the regular season, and I think are going to have themselves ready to go here for the regional level on Thursday. It's going to get more difficult now, but I think they're starting to feel more confident in their abilities.
Definitely continuing on the legacy, and that's what's most important, I think, for the next upcoming class is that you don't want to be the one to let it drop off.
No.
Your predecessors, they've done a nice job. They put your program in a position where you're expected now to be making runs into the regional. So, in your opinion, what about this crew has allowed them to have different kids step up and fill shoes and vacancies that have been left some big holes from the last season, and now they're right back where they were a year ago. They've got big-time girls making big-time plays.
Yeah, so I think that Kate Cecil has done an excellent job in kind of following older Sis's shoes. You know, they kind of split the point position amongst a couple different girls. Riley Concert can bring the ball up the court with you know, confidence. So can Sydney Worm. But for the most part, Kate Cecil's kind of that field general to get their offensive sets started. So she's just done an astronomical job stepping up. She had a lot of good experience last year playing with her sister, playing in difficult tournament games. And so I think that's helped her translate, and she's probably become more of a leader this year. And then kind of like not replacing, but, you know, how do you fill that scoring gap of Claudia Pfeiffer? I think they've kind of done that so nicely as a group, a collective group. It doesn't have to just be one girl. They've had consistent performances from Kennedy Deppen, Sydney Worm, Riley Concert that have, you know, any one of those on any given night can be a leading scorer or that second scorer to complement Kate. And then they've got absolute workhorses too. Paige Colleen, when I talked to her Saturday, said, you know, she's kind of known as the player that does the dirty work, that goes for the jump balls, that dives for steals and turnovers and rebounds. And with some of the injuries they've been dealing with towards the end of the season too, Nevaeh Metzger gets a lot of playing time. She's got an absolute motor that never shuts down during the game. She's on one speed at all times, and that's go, which can help and hurt sometimes, but for the most part, it's really helped them out. Evac has stepped in and played some nice minutes. Grace Colleen, Paige's younger sister. So I almost think it's more of a group effort this year. And that sometimes can really help you when it's not just, and last year it wasn't just those two, but for the most part, you know, they were different. And I think this year I saw something, you know, that's like be consistently good so that you can occasionally be great. And I think that that's something that would probably apply to them. Not every single game has looked the best. I mean, they lost to a Shelby team who's no longer in the postseason. They've had their losses this year. It wasn't an unblemished record, but they've consistently played good, and hopefully that great comes now.
You know, I think probably having 5 seniors for a small school program, that's such a benefit, because when you live out in New Washington, where I don't even know if there's one stoplight in town, you're hanging out together a lot. That's what you have to do. You got you and your girls, your buddies, and the team building and the camaraderie. It's just different at a small school, in my opinion, than it is at some of the bigger city schools. So to have 5 of them that have grown up in a program where all they've done is win, 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 no matter what, looking to get back to regionals, I think that you can count on this team to come out and be competitive no matter who it is that they're playing, because deep down, each and every one of them would go to war for the other one, especially those 5 seniors. And you talked about some of the younger ones. When you got siblings on the team too, you just want to step up, you want to play big. And I love their shirts that say "Defend the Legacy." That's what it's all about, man. When something has been built before you that you're getting to be a part of, and people associate you with greatness, not because of what you've done, but because of what others have done before you, the last thing that you want to do is have a drop off. So big kudos to the Lady Buckettes for continuing to keep on moving on into the round of regionals, where we'll have them, of course, live and free coming up on Thursday night, Hayden, in a game that you're going to get a call. So it's a great story, I think, here. The Lady Buckettes doing it and doing it again, when there probably were quite a few doubters that were like, is this team going to be relevant again this year? I think they've far exceeded what we thought, because Upper Sandusky was a team I had circled to win the Northern 10 this year with all the talent they had, and they got beat twice by them.
Yeah, and those were both competitive games. I remember the first one was just a 1-point game, and then it was also close in New Washington. And that was actually something that we talked about on Saturday, Joe and I, is that maybe something that gives a nice, BC probably appreciates the level of competition in the conference this year.
True.
There was a lot of solid teams, Upper Sandusky, Mohawk, and then there was nights where Winford and Colonel Crawford they would play you really hard. And if they didn't beat you, it was close, and you really had to work against them. So I think the rest of the Northern 10 would be cheering on Buckeye Central right now, because once you're all eliminated, it's kind of like, well, that's your representation now. And it's like, oh man, like imagine BC goes on to win the state championship. I remember when we lost to them by a point. So that's something that you can probably take pride in now, but I think that kind of helps give them an edge too. Not only do your non-conference opponents give you a challenge, but conference play itself gave them a challenge this year.
And I think once you get to this level, you're 100% right. You'll start seeing on the live streams that there's going to be players tuning in from some of those Northern 10 teams and even beyond, because once your tournament run ends, you just want the kids that you actually know, that you grew up playing with or against, and you're like, hey, let's see if they can get on to a state championship, because you're 100% right. Why wouldn't you want to say that you played against a state title winner? And we're hoping to talk to them at some point. It looks like Travis is still having a couple of technical issues out there in Chuck City. But when we do get him on, we're going to hear from all 5 seniors out there for the Lady Buckettes, as well as Abram Capel wearing that awesome Allen Iverson shirt. And he might have been a little bit before your time. Did you grow up at all in the Iverson era? Because he was such a game-changing figure for me in the 90s. One of the first guys to really embrace kind of that Fab Five motto of, we're going to do it our way, and guess what? You're going to change, we're not. And I think that the NBA, in a lot of ways, has become kind of the cultural, fully eclectic style that it is now, versus before in Jordan's day, when it was just all guys in suit and ties and a little bit more buttoned up. He was the first one to really be flamboyant with the tattoos and the do-rags and all that. And I just wonder how much of your childhood was shaped by Mr. AI.
I would be lying to say if much of any of it. I'm on that cusp where, for me, it was all LeBron. I was not there for Iverson. I mean, I love playing with AI on 2K, but besides that,
one of the nastiest crossovers ever.
Mm-hmm.
Google that man if you never had a chance. Maybe the best player, in my opinion, 6 feet or below to ever play in the NBA. I think that would be a great debate that we should actually have on this program sometime. I think
the short guys need spoken about too.
Yeah, it's just different. My wife asked me, ironically, not that long ago, just last night, she was like, why is it that tall people are all the ones that are in the NBA? And I'm like, because there's...
I know, we got 7 points.
Yeah, well, she wanted me to say on the record it wasn't a silly question. She was just asking a question. So
We got 7 point.
yeah, it's just of great benefit, of course, if you're tall, lanky, a lot closer to the hoop. Whereas if you're my height, I'm the same height as Allen Iverson. To have to go against guys in the lane that's all 6'10" and above, come on, man. Doesn't seem very fair. Anyways, really just trying to buy time here until Abram checks in with us. We've got him like a freeze frame.
we got a
just
freeze
standing there
frame.
with his hands in his pockets, and I thought for a while, I was like, man,
I thought he was still
that
there.
guy is really still.
Yeah.
He's locked in. Maybe he's just Travis told him to hang out, hang tight, and he took it very literally.
Yeah.
But no, I think there's just
Blink if you
frozen
need
up
help,
there.
Abram. Okay,
Cable?
nothing.
You
One
okay?
thing I loved from Saturday when they did win, though, that I did talk to him about was, that ties back to some of the favorite moments from the tournament. Once they start getting to these net cuttings, it's pretty entertaining and fun to watch some of the coaches, what they do up there and how hype everyone gets. And Saturday was none of that. Abe casually strolled up the ladder. No one was watching, really, besides everyone watching live and free on the OH.Report.
Well, I guess
He
we
cut it
got
down
about
and just
10
walked
on
right
Tropicals.
down. And I guess once you take home 7 in a row, meh.
Not that it loses its
Yeah,
luster, but it's
I
not
know.
quite as exciting as probably the first 3 or 4 or even 5. And then, but yeah, once you start getting to 7, it
But
just
that
becomes the
killed me.
expectation.
Yeah. that was
We
fun.
actually we ran a Google search. I was asked like, why did we cut down nets?
Yeah, where did
And,
that begin?
I believe that it started in Indiana, and it was high school actually. They cut down the nets for a long time. I think they only recently changed it. Every team competed against one another, regardless of how big or small your school is. If you have seen the movie Hoosiers, that's kind of the scenario, and they decided to do it. But what I didn't know, and what is an interesting topic to research, is how many tragedies have happened with coaches and players cutting down the nets, and how many fingers have been cut, and hands gouged, and all sorts of bad things happen. So, I mean, it makes sense. We're climbing up a ladder with a sharp object, something that mom told
The
you
ladders
not
are
to
never
do
stable. They
growing up. Right. There's nobody there really supporting it. They're trying to
The
get
poor
their,
janitors are trying to
their
help.
pictures. All the above.
It's a mess.
But it is
It is cool.
it is a really cool thing that Effie James talked about it on our broadcast on Saturday when they were cutting down the nets. And he's like, man, Greg Collins back in my day, he had a superstition. We don't cut down no stinking nets for sectionals, so we never did, and we never won a district. And got, that next net that you get to cut down because
So you
in
never
Tiger
got any
Country,
net.
at least back then, I mean, things have really changed. They haven't been to a regional in a long time now. I think 13 was the last time that they went. But when you become accustomed to it, like Capel and them guys,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Sometimes you just kind of blow it off, and that's something that he kind of regrets, that he never got to cut down that net. And yeah, and there are teams out there. Jim Valvano was really noted before they went on that nice run for the Wolfpack, North Carolina State, that won, I think, 1983. The great documentary about it, the 30 for 30. But I guess that season that they practiced cutting down the nets, and they did it a bunch of times. That way his team could envision themselves getting to that moment, playing well enough to where you would have an opportunity to be the best team in college basketball. So I thought that was a pretty cool little nugget that I just found out about just in the last couple of days. So let that be a message to some of you coaches or young players out there. Not that you want to cut down mom's net in the driveway or make dad upset that he's having to go back out to Dunham's for the 4th time this week, but really it could probably put yourself in a mental area where you're like, hey, this is where I need to get. This is how it's done, and then you don't have the tragedy of having one less pinky when you're done with the ceremony.
Yeah, there's different philosophies to it. It's something that ties into that. Coach Sheldon on when they took down, I'm blanking on who it was, but when Colonel Crawford won their game the other day, that was the 12th straight sectional title.
Yeah,
and
isn't that crazy?
You would kind of think it could go either way. You could kind of think, oh, well, this is old hat. We got bigger goals. But Coach Sheldon, when he, let us know that it was the 12th in a row, he's like, I just think I should make that known because he's like, you should never, ever take winning championships for granted. 12 is unheard of, no matter the level, even with sectionals. So that was cool. Little nugget, too.
Yeah. So 7 in a row, not quite 12, but I think maybe just maybe,
Maybe.
we got a guy joining us now who has won 7 district championships in a row. Abram Capel, what's up, man? I think we might be able to hear you this time. How you doing out there in Titletown, pal?
We're here, and we're using old school headphones, but we're on the air.
Gee.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck's going on with the internet with the camera and the computer, so we're just going to go
all
with
right,
my
Trav.
shaky hand camera work. I can hear you. Yeah, it's all right, but we're here.
Awesome, man. Well, Abe, we're really glad that you invited Old Big League out to practice and that you're going to give us a couple of minutes here before you guys get started. And 7 straight district championships. We were just talking about the net cutting ceremony here and what that means to certain teams and coaches. And for you, it kind of wasn't that big of a deal this last one. Not that it's wearing off, but has this just become the expectation out there in New Washington is that you're going to be moving on to a regional year in, year out?
I think it's an expectation, but in a good way, right? We kind of set goals at the beginning of the season, and then obviously we reevaluate them halfway through. And a league championship is one, and then winning a district is second. And starting to add, a regional championship is something that we talk about early in the season. So, it's still exciting. Don't get me wrong. And just because I didn't wave it around didn't mean I didn't have the same emotion that I had the first 4 years. But it is an expectation and something that we strive to reach every year.
Well, it's an expectation and a standard that you continue to attain, and you're getting there with a different group of kids, obviously, every single year. So what's made this one stand out to you that's allowed them to get themselves in a position where they're back at regionals, where their predecessors have been the last 6 seasons?
Something that kind of sticks out with this group is obviously we've dealt with a lot of adversity, and not that the other teams haven't, but this year we've had adversity late in the season. We still have Sydney Worm out with an ankle injury, and hopefully she's able to come back sooner than later. We missed Rye in the sectional final and basically had her on 1 foot both games last week. And, we've had to shuffle things around. Ella Evac was sick on Saturday night. So, for us to be able to maneuver through some depth and things of that nature, I think has been really cool. We don't have, I guess, quote unquote, maybe the first team All-Ohio star power that we've had in the past. This has been very much a collective effort where everybody has a job and a responsibility to do certain things. And each kid that we play, has kind of bought into that and, soaked in their role and has done that to a T. And I think that's what makes this group special is just being able to do it collectively, regardless of how deep in our bench we're having to go based on, injuries or foul trouble, whatever the case is.
Hey, Coach Capel, what excites you the most about getting to take this year's group of girls back up to Perry High School, and especially just the opportunity to take back girls that had experience from last year and combining them with those other girls that you have already talked about, this year as a collective unit? What are you most excited about taking them back up to that level with girls that have been there before and have experience, and kind of watching them teach and help along those that are playing bigger roles this year?
Yeah, obviously it's exciting anytime you get to the Sweet 16. We have 5 seniors that played a huge role in last year's team, and obviously their role has changed this year. And then, like you said, you kind of implement, the 3 or 4 that we play off the bench as well. So it's kind of the same thing that has been done in the past. I guess what excites me is there's a lot of familiarity there. Obviously, we've had the chance to play a good amount of regional games, or at least these 5 seniors have over the past 4 years. So that's exciting. But in the same token, New Middletown Springfield is there. They were there last year, and so was Dalton. So 3 out of the 4 teams that are in our regional were there last year. So even though we're excited about having the experience, there's other teams that are up there that are probably feeling the same way.
Would you say, now that you're at the round of regionals, for your practices, Abram, like for these next 3 days, is it going to be a little bit more intense than a normal practice, or is it kind of a little bit different where you've already known that you've put in the work, you've got your conditioning underneath you, your postseason legs, and you guys are focusing a little bit more on game plan?
Well, considering that every time we practice, someone else gets hurt, we're going to be pretty light this week. So we'll kind of go through our stuff. It's more mental than physical at this point, right? We want to get a lot of shots up. We want to shoot the basketball as much as we can in practice. And, we'll run a little bit. But in terms of contact, I think those days are a little bit behind us, unless, somebody makes me mad and we have to go full go. But generally speaking, we'll review our stuff mentally. We'll go through Berlin Center stuff from a mental standpoint, do a lot of walkthrough, and our kids do a good job of, even though there's a lot of times in practice we don't think they're paying attention, it's amazing when things like come to it in a game that actually everybody knows what's going on. So even if their eyes are sometimes wandering, it is getting absorbed for the most part. So that's what our practice will look like the next 3 days.
And Abram, you were named the Northern 10 Coach of the Year again. So I know that you're going to deflect and you're going to say, well, I've got great kids. I've got great players that are out on the floor that are making everything happen for me. Give me like one idea or maybe an instance in a game or something where actually your mental capacity as a coach came into the equation and you really made a difference for the team this season.
Oh, man, one specific example. The other night in the third quarter, I thought we were playing a little bit tight. We struggled to score there for a little bit. And, we kind of talked to them at halftime, being up 15, that, good teams make good runs. Danbury was a great team with 20-plus wins, and we understood at some point during that game that run was going to take place. So I guess my understanding of knowing that maybe a calming voice was maybe more so what they needed at that time to just be like, hey, one or two quick buckets here are going to, turn things around. And, I took a timeout late in the game, and we responded with a 9-0 run. So I guess, that's probably something I probably would have done 5 years ago or maybe even last year. And, my goal as a coach is to try to get better and learn from every game and every mistake that I make, because there's obviously a ton of those that take place. But as long as you're able to reflect and, make those adjustments and try to improve and put your kids in the best position you can, then I feel that I'm trying to do that as best I can. So.
Yeah, always improving. Just like the athletes on the sideline,
sure.
You're always trying to make sure that you're the best that you can possibly be. And since Travis has kept himself in the picture the entire time, I'll go ahead and throw out a question to Big League. So you're standing side by side here with Abram. He's got the great beard. It's coming in. It's really full. And then you've just got the goatee. When you see that look, is it something, A, that you want to try to pull off? And B, what type of grooming tips, Abram, would you have for him if Travis tried to pull off a beard?
Just get a good girlfriend that, gets you the right manicure
That's
stuff.
the problem, though.
And
That's the tough step.
There's a lot of work that goes into it. I spend about 2 hours a day in the morning, get my beard looking right, and take on the work day.
That's right, Trav. Just put a little care in.
That's a stretch.
You ever think about trying to go for the full beard, Trav? We've had the goatee look for a couple years.
I like the goatee look, though.
I do, too. I like that on Travis. I don't think I could pull that off.
I need a little trimming, though, right here. But,
I did shave my head this year. Well, it's as buzz as I can get it. I stopped fighting a good fight.
It's all right.
Yeah, I
at
can't
some
do that. I
point,
got a lumpy head.
That's the correct move. So we applaud you, Abram, for just going ahead and say, hey, genetics, you win.
It's fair.
All right, man. Well, hey, we appreciate you giving us all that time. If you want to go ahead and hand off an earbud to one of your seniors or who's ever out there, we'll take them all on.
Yeah, give me two seniors.
Thanks,
I'll
guys.
let them
Thanks,
talk.
Coach.
Thanks, Abram.
Paige and Ken.
So we see we got Travis rounding up some players there. And
we got Trav.
You put this in your right ear. Stand right
yeah.
there. Kennedy, put this
We
in
should
your left
copyright
ear.
that. The Trav Pod.
We're going janky way, the Snapchat way.
Behind the scenes with Travis.
all right, looks like we got a couple of players now here. So, ladies, I can just hear you. Go ahead when we bring you on camera. Introduce yourselves. Who we got?
I'm Kennedy Duffin, and I'm Paige Cooling.
Well, hey, Kennedy and Paige. Great to have you here live and free on the OH.Report. I want to start here with Kennedy and talk to me about your role on the team and how it's changed down the stretch, because you went from a girl early on in the season that wasn't necessarily getting a ton of points to where now you're one of the go-to girls on the team.
I think before my role was just significantly different because I was asked to be more of a role player and try to help grab some rebounds and just use my size to my advantage, because we had other girls they were just like better at one thing. And now with injuries and just our situation, I've just been asked to score a bit more, and I'm perfectly okay with that. I mean, things change, and we just have to do what's best for the team at the end of the day.
And Paige, Hayden was telling me that you fancy yourself as the girl that's not afraid to get down, get dirty, dive after a loose ball. You'll get involved in a little scuffle on the floor if you have to. So how did you go about accepting that role, and not just that, but really embracing it?
Yeah, well, I've always kind of been like that since I was even in upwards. I got in trouble for being too rough with the other girls. So
In
that's
Upward
kind of
Church
just
League?
always-
Paige.
Yeah. I remember a coach that recruited me because he was like, "Well, you're really aggressive. I like that, but you gotta tone it down a little bit." So even ever since then, like that's just kind of what I've been. I can't really play. Like Coach Kip will be like, "You need to play smart. You need to play safe." It's really hard for me to like shut it off. So even like, especially being on this team now, it's really important like to get second chances, and rebounds are obviously really important to prevent other teams from getting second chances. And all those loose balls, like that's kind of what makes or breaks these really late games. So right now, it's actually really important that I keep pursuing that role.
What would you say your role is off the floor with the group? Probably especially the 5 seniors. When you guys are just all hanging out, are you like kind of the funny girl in the group? Are you the tomboy
exactly.
that's always mixing
I'm
things
the
up?
Comedian. I like to consider myself a secret comedian, just on the down low. If you give me a stage, though, I can make some money.
Well, I mean, you're live and free here on the internet. You got a microphone, so you've already made me laugh a couple times. So I would say so far it's
Yeah.
working out. What about you, Kennedy? Where do you fit into the mix?
Sweetheart.
Yeah. Honestly, sometimes like if people just need to talk, I try to consider myself like one of the team moms or team therapists. Like if someone needs to talk, I'm just always here with open arms.
Yeah, she's definitely a
Open
team
ears.
mom.
I would just say for both of you, using the experience that you had from last year, from that run, what kind of like wisdom will you share to those that may not have played as big of a role last year, or what kind of experience from last year are you going to take with you going into the round of regionals again this year, hopefully getting back to Dayton? What are you going to take from last year to apply to this year?
I think that like we can approach it more with like a really level head. Like a lot of teams don't go to regionals or get this far, and thankfully we've had that experience. So we can kind of approach it more as like almost like a business trip. Like we're doing our practice, like we're gonna study and we're gonna go and we're gonna play level-headed, whereas other teams might be a lot more anxious and a lot more uncertain about what's gonna happen.
Yeah, and I think we just know what to expect, and we know how seriously we need to take practice, and we need to watch our film and our scouting reports. So I think, especially just going back-to-back years, we can help relay the message to the younger ones that just the importance of all of our work and all of our studying, like how important that really is.
All right, girls. Well, we definitely we appreciate everything that you've been accomplishing out there in Buckeye Central, cutting down the nets for 7 straight years. So every single season you've been in high school, you've been a district champion, and we're looking forward to seeing you compete now at the round of regionals. So be careful, though, out at practice. Coach says that you guys have been getting hurt a lot when you guys have been getting in your work here lately. So take it easy on them, Paige. There's no need to rough everybody up all the time, okay?
Said it's hard to shut it off.
Hey, I understand. I like to roughhouse, too. All right, thanks for the time, ladies. If you want to send over a couple of your other senior girl team members, we'll take them.
Yeah, okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. I love that they sent those two over together because it's the enforcer and then the team therapist.
Yeah, that was smart.
And every real great team, they need that balance, don't they? You need one of each.
Yeah, you have to. If you have all one of the same, you either got to have a team that fouls out in about 3 minutes, or because I think Paige had 4 fouls on Saturday. But hey, that's what had to be done. You got to have someone's got to do that. But on the other side, you I don't know. You got to have toughness.
In Paige's mind, it's probably, I don't get to take these fouls with me. I better at least get in my
that's right.
4. So let's see. It looks like we got Kate Cecil joining us now. Is that right? What's up? How's things going out there?
Good.
Tell me about how you spent your Sunday yesterday after capping off another district championship. How'd you celebrate?
I spent some time at home. I cleaned my room and stuff, and then I actually went up to the gym and shot.
Imagine that. Hey,
Wow.
I guess when you're setting school records, you got to be getting the work in. So you tied your own school record, 8 3-pointers in the game. For those of us that was a good season for us, what does it feel like to be basically making 2 3-pointers every single quarter?
You know, it feels good. It feels like a really big accomplishment for me. I've always wanted to shoot threes when I was little, and now I'm doing it, so it feels good.
And it felt like in that South Central game, they weren't coming out and guarding you, Kate. Were you as surprised as the rest of us how wide open you were getting in the third and fourth quarter after you had already knocked down 5 threes?
Yeah, I was a little surprised. Usually the teams catch on, but I guess they didn't, so you always just keep shooting.
Obviously, you come from a family of good shooters and good ball players. Where would you say that you rank in the Cecil hierarchy? Are you the best shooter in the family?
I probably am the best shooter in the family. My sister Megan's maybe a little bit up there, but I'm probably a little better than her.
You think she would agree with you, though, or would there be some debate if we got you all on?
She would not agree. She would not agree.
Yeah, we see a Pop-A-Shot challenge coming on, maybe down here at the studio if we can get all the Cecils in here one day.
Oh, yeah.
Just tell me about this season for you girls, and when you lose to great players like you just graduated from a year ago, there's probably a little bit of doubt maybe. Can we do it again? Can we be N10 champions? Can we repeat as district champions? Were those thoughts within your own locker room, or have you guys been way more confident than the rest of us were at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, I think our team stayed pretty confident throughout the whole season, and just like once we started getting going in the season, we realized that like we can do this even without those great players.
Yeah, it's been really cool to watch, and having 5 seniors on the team, how much value would you place on that, given that obviously it helps with the bond off the floor, and then clearly you guys have good team chemistry when you're out there together?
Yeah, we're all like best friends off the court, so just coming on the court together, it all just bonds together there too.
Hayden, anything for the 3-point champion of Buckeye Central?
I mean, I know we talked a couple times over the weekend, Kate, but do you like the nickname Threesel? I know it's been used by people like here and Zach Holden using it. Do you like the nickname, or do you not want us to use it?
No, I like it. I think my
good.
dad started it, so I don't mind it.
Okay, good. I thought I saw him start it, and we got to carry that on for him.
Yeah.
Do you have any other nicknames that we should be aware of?
I don't think so. Not as far as I know.
Does anybody on the team have a really great nickname?
There's a freshman, and we call her Scooter. It just kind of came
randomly. That was actually
randomly.
my childhood nickname. I kid you not. When I was growing up, a lot of people called me Scooter, so that's a good one. How did she get that moniker?
Coach Cable just picked it out. It was random.
just one day?
And it stuck.
You will be Scooter.
That's
okay.
pretty much what happened.
We'll take it. Well, hey, it's been awesome to see you guys really develop once again into a juggernaut type of a team as you're moving into regionals. We definitely want to send out a lot of love and support, and keep on keeping on, Kate Threesel. We hope that you can knock down 8 more in the regional semifinal.
Well, thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, and if you'll send us the next senior, we'll be ready.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
All right, so there's only a couple left, right? We've talked to 3, so haven't heard from the Northern 10 Player of the Year yet.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at our little mystery preview screen. That does not look like the Northern 10 Girls Athlete of the Year, but hey, it's a close second.
So the
Wow.
Northern 10 Player of the Year is getting her ankle taped, but
Oh,
we're 10
okay.
minutes into their practice and they're holding first. Oh, here she comes. Never mind. We will get her before they start practicing. So here.
You halt practice
it's right here.
for the Northern
Yeah,
10
one's
Player
left
of the
here.
Year. That's what you do.
There you go.
There she is, the Northern 10 Player of the Year. Hey, so we heard that you was getting all taped up. How healthy are you right now? Give me a percentage on 1 to 100. How you feeling?
I'd say about 95% as of now.
You can't beat that when you're in tournament time. Obviously, when you're
Yeah.
this deep into the season, you're going to have a few things that you're dealing with. But, hey, I got into a group chat this weekend, and I was saying, man, I'm a little surprised who won the Northern 10 Player of the Year award. You know, she's got Kate Cecil on the team. I was looking around at some of the other players that are in the conference. Make me your case. Well, why do you think that you were the only right choice to be named to that position?
I think I got Player of the Year just because of not just like my offense, my defense and my assists. Like I'm able to find shooters like Kate, and just my passing and my IQ. I think that plays a big role into why I got Player of the Year instead of like a more of a scorer like Kate.
So talk to me about your player development from the time before you got into high school to where you are now. Have you always been a really dynamic playmaker where you could do a little bit of everything, rebound, pass, and shoot? Or is this something that you've really grown into since you got into the high school ranks?
In 7th and 8th grade, we didn't have a lot of girls, and like me and Sydney, we were the only ones on our like 7th grade team that really played. So like I had a leadership role ever since then of like learning how to score and being the main scorer, passer, and everything. But I think AAU honestly helped me the most, like develop me as a player, because like AAU is just like barn ball sometimes. You just go out and you have to stand on your own 2 feet, and so I think that helped me a lot.
Yeah, you mentioned you and Sydney, that you were on the team together growing up, and now you've got Kate, obviously Kennedy, and Paige that are all in the mix, you 5 seniors. Just how much value do you put on that? Maybe not just when you're in the games, but at practice too, just having that many girls that this is your last run. Any loss and it's all over.
Yeah, it's a lot of like everybody wants to win. That's really cool too, because it's the 5 starters. It's our last year to play basketball, and if we lose, we're done. So everybody has that want to win, and it's really cool because everybody has a good IQ at practice too. So everybody really knows what's going on and can be leaders in a different way.
Would you say that you expected to be Northern 10 and district champions again this year, or have you maybe overachieved in your own mind?
I think I expected us to be, because that's how it's always been for me. Like the past 3 years, I've just set the expectation for myself, at least, of winning the league and winning district, because like it's kind of my team now, and that's what Coach Capel told me at the beginning of the year. That's my team, and I gotta get us where we need to be. So I think I knew that we were gonna accomplish both of those things, but I don't think anybody else knew but our team and coaches.
Well, Riley, I don't have a question per se for you, but another accomplishment that doesn't quite measure up to the exact Northern 10 Player of the Year, but I should let you know, congratulate you, that we keep track of our stat leaders from around the area, and typically it's about 5 or 6 conferences every week, and you were second in assists for basically the whole year, so another milestone under your belt.
Thank you.
Of course.
Is there a statistic that you pay the most attention to that you're like, hey, I really want to have X amount of assists or X amount of rebounds, or I need to score? Is there a stat that you like the most at the end of the night?
I'd say my assists, probably, because then I know I'm doing my job as a point guard and finding my shooters, and so probably my assist, I would say.
All right, Riley Cantor, the Player of the Year in the Northern 10 and still rocking and rolling into the regionals. Give me a quick confidence gauge and meter for you and the entire clique out there, the squad, the 5 seniors. How much belief do you think you have right now in getting back to a Final Four?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably say we're about an 8.3. That's what I would give it.
That's pretty high. I think that's a solid B right there, Riley. So we're
definitely, I would say that.
We're going to be out there. We're going to be supporting you, and we can't wait to see you perform again in the semifinals on Thursday. So get back to being 100% healthy and keep on keeping on. Keep doing what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Pound it.
Right. And I think we got one more, right? We haven't heard from Sydney, though. She's been out the lineup here the last couple of weeks, hasn't she? Oh, what's up,
Hey, thanks for keeping me on while I'm trying to get myself fixed. That's great. How you doing?
Yeah, we got to show the behind the scenes. It can't always be pretty and, rainbows and gumdrops.
Well, as you can see, they're getting practice ready up here. I got another man down here waiting to get his stuff done, if I can get the same.
Oh, Hall of Famer Joe Baylog, my guy. What's up?
So he has to get his stuff shut, so I'm going to get off of here, let you guys finish up. And,
before we do, Trav, we're going to be wrapping up the show today. We're going to be looking back at our high school tournament story. So you got any that you want to share before you jump off?
Well, sophomore year basketball, we had one of the best teams in our area. We were playing for a sectional championship, which in Ohio would be a district championship. One of our best players cut his foot on a glass. The arch of his foot went up into the arch, so he was out for the sectional championship game. against our rival, and our rival ended up beating us by about 12 points, and they ended up going on to win the state championships. And we know if we would have had our best player, we would have beaten them, and it just made it a little more sickening knowing that if we would have had them at full strength, it'd probably be us wearing the rings instead of them.
Ooh, man.
Yeah.
So you can never be too careful. It's not always on the court.
Oh, look
my
at
gosh.
me.
Woo! Look at that.
About
Skinny
100
Vinny.
pounds lighter.
I need a fat head of that.
My goodness.
Put it on the studio wall.
That is a great look. Might have to go back to the baby face sometime, Trav.
Yeah, well, we see baby face.
I like the facial hair.
I can't do that either. So.
Yeah, you got a little peach fuzz. That's all you can grow, isn't it?
Oh.
He's working on it.
You and that
He'll be a
12-year-old
full-grown adult
face you
one of
got.
these days.
He's like Andy Jardy.
Hey, Andy's a full grown-up now that he's in his 30s.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
About time.
I'm impressed. It's really domesticated. Well, hey, thanks for calling in out there from Chuck City,
no
Trav.
problem.
Have fun with Joe B.
I'll see you guys later.
See you, bro. All right, so, we just heard from Travis, who is a West Virginia legend, at least in his own mind, back in the heyday, no matter what he played. So, Hayden, if you want to share a quick story, take us back down memory lane, out into your Shelby playing days, and what do you remember from tournaments past?
I guess when we were kind of thinking the emphasis on this might be like just a tough loss or getting bounced from the tournament, I instantly thought back to obviously kind of what we talked about with Riley, that fear that you are going to be done eventually, and that once you get to that point, any can be your last. So for me, it would obviously be my senior year playing Steubenville up at Massillon High School. And honestly, the reason I bring that up is we were talking a little bit about before the show today, like how you deal with a loss and how tough that's going to be.
Yeah.
No matter what, no matter whether Buckeye Central could go down and win a state championship and win it, it's still going to be over. Or if you lose, it's going to be over. So, like, some of the emotions that go through that, I remember after that game, it was tough for a long period of time and at all levels. I mean, I'm a guy that didn't play that much, probably played a couple minutes in that game, but that still hits hard on you. And but it was a very strange thing. You go through so many emotions. It's devastating, but then by the end, again, like I said, when we left, we weren't all content. You're not happy about just what happened, but it definitely brought like we at least had closure before we left. So that's like an experience that I think helped grow us all more so as humans, not even as athletes, because for a lot of us, that was it. You weren't going to go play football anywhere else. So tournament time is full of it. It's got it all.
Especially when it's that last game, huh?
Yeah.
Those are the moments that you'll never forget. And I told you after my last football game, we got bounced out in a Sweet 16 game of football, and it took me probably 20 minutes to quit crying. I couldn't stop. I wanted to go out of the locker room, and it just took me a while to calm down. But just a quick story from my last game as a senior in basketball. Colorado does it a little bit different. In your district, the top 3 teams all get to advance, and if you're one of the top 2 seeds, some get 4 teams, some get 3. If you're one of the top 2, there's a possibility that you can host. So my high school had to go on the road to West Jefferson, and we weren't an all-white high school, but our basketball team was all white, and we went to a community that was all black. So it was just one of those classic matchups, the white team versus the black team, and I'm getting harassed. I liked to chirp a lot back in the heyday in my playing day. So I was going back and forth with the fans, and we were up the bulk majority of the game. Had a really, really good first half. I think I had 13 points in the first half, and then in the second, my running mate, he fouled out, and they really turned up the defensive pressure. And I gotta say, I had a couple of costly turnovers towards the end of the game. I actually got ripped by a kid who ended up going to college with me, my guy Gerald, and he dunked right on top of me, and it was not a good feeling. So we're down 3. We still had a chance in the game, and we put up a 3. It's off target. Their buzzer, their horn actually wasn't working in the gym at the time, okay? So it was all just referee whistle. So there's an offensive rebound. There's a kick out to me for a deep 3. I hit the thing, and I'm just giving it to the student section because I thought that I had just sent it into overtime and I was the coolest guy on planet Earth. Turns out the referee said that I was just about a fraction behind that final horn that we couldn't hear, so it was just a whistle. So instead of me talking trash to them, it was them running out onto the floor and ruining my glory as West Jefferson moves on. Moffett County goes down. I still remember the final score of the game, 79-76. Haven't fully got over it yet today. But it is a magical moment that you'll always remember, your final game that you play in any sport. So we hope that that's not the case for our local athletes moving on this week, our seniors, especially that group out of Buckeye Central. I mean, these are some big-time games. Once you start getting into the regional round, that's when it's real, and that's when you can start actually daydreaming. There are only 16 teams left in the whole state, and we're one of them.
Yeah, I mean, they speak more confident than I would at that age, that's for sure. If someone would have said, are you scared to go play, Bloom, Carroll, Philo, Stupid? Yeah, I'm scared. So kudos to their confidence. I know there's probably some nerves under that, but yeah, man, it gets legit, and competition just seems all the more impressive nowadays. So we hope the best.
That's right. We got a ton of tournament games coming up, of course, on the OH.Report that you can watch live and free. We don't have a graphic made.
Not
because,
yet.
Yeah, but there's a lot.
Coming soon.
I can tell you about a couple.
Coming tonight.
So before we sign out, because, I mean, how many inboxes do we get? Are you covering this game? Are you covering that game?
We'll tell you.
We would love to cover them all, guys. Tomorrow, for sure, we are going to be at Highland High School for Northmore versus Delaware Christian. That is a district semifinal boys game. Travis Barty's going to be on the call with Zach Ruth if he's back in town from Florida with that guy right there, Travis Michael Berardi. Hayden may also be on the call if Zach is not back, but I think this is a Golden Knights team that they've got a lot of potential. Plenty of teams avoided them in the tournament draw, Hayden, and that's why they're playing a number 8 seed. They could be competing for a district championship this weekend.
They should, and I know that's got Michael Berardi all fired up, and it should have North Bloomfield Township ready to go.
I'm going to be over at Willard. We're going to have number 2 Colonel Crawford versus number 7 Norwalk St. Paul. Or I'm sorry, Crawford's number 1, and then number 2 Lucas versus number 5 Monroeville. So everyone's pretty much predicting chalk. I think that's why these games are going to end up being entertaining, because I'm sure that Lucas and Colonel Crawford aren't overlooking their opponents, but certainly those other 2 teams, St. Paul and Monroeville, they've been hearing the chatter. Oh, it's 1 versus 2. This is a really bad district this year. I think we're going to get some fireworks tomorrow.
You'd almost be you almost would rather be the team counted out, man. That extra edge just puts something in them. Obviously, you don't want to see the top seeds fall, but hey, anything can happen. Expect the unexpected.
On Wednesday will be the last episode of the Joe Show for this season. So been getting so much great feedback. I know Coach Baylog's been having an awesome time doing it, and it is ironically the 5-year anniversary of OH.Report. I can't believe that we're that old. I still feel like we're the new kids on the block, just trying to get our foothold here in the area. But we're kind of some old hats now. 5 years. Dang,
that's wild.
I guess we're still the new babies around. Yeah. But anyways, we'll also have some live streams that night. Not 1, but 2 up at Norwalk, the Division III semifinals. Crestview versus Huron. And we're pretty sure, because Margaret already put out that we're going to be in the building, that we're going to be doing the game when they take on Cardinal Stritch. So we can't let down Polar Bear Nation. But would love to get some sponsorships lined up for that. So if you'd like to support, if you want to see some live and free, holler at me, Brian Skronsky, Brian at OH.Report, and we would love to be able to give you both of those games on Wednesday.
That way. Starting point to you.
Hayden too. You can holler at either of us. And then Thursday, these are the games that we've all been looking forward to for a couple of weeks now. We got basically the matchups that we were anticipating, even though you looked at the Division II district for Ashland and you were like, man, there's so many teams that come out of here. Well, we got the ones that we thought we were going to have. Sandusky versus Mansfield Senior Round 2, and then Shelby versus Lexington Round 2. We already talked a little bit about this at the very beginning of the podcast, but these are 2 incredible matchups, Hayden, that I know that a lot of people out there that are basketball fans in our area, they're salivating to see what's going to go down.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love rematches, especially when it's all the marbles on the line. So 2 teams versus 2 teams, and they've all met in some capacity. They all have a connection somehow. So it's going to come down to how you play, but also how it's coached and all that. Everything goes into these.
And then depending on who all wins over these first 3 days of the week, we'll have the championship matchups for you on Friday and Saturday. So we just got to see how things unfold and shake out. And that is the beauty of tournament time. Could see some upsets, could see some chalk. Either way, we know it's going to be fun. And always here on the OH Report, it's live and free. So make sure to put it on your calendar and just have fun with us all week. Dial us up on the YouTube. Love putting it on the big screen at my house, and then I bring up on my phone. I'll have it on the Facebook so I can get inside of the chat and the group messaging. So there's a lot of ways to be involved. Oh, and I hear that Kathy Dodge is watching, OH Report super fan, so just wanted to verbally mention her. She's probably a top-tier Diamond anniversary follower and lover of all of our products. I run the company, and I'm constantly on OH Report page, and I'm 4th-tier fan. I don't know how it works and calculates, but I'm always on OH Report. So the fact that there are 3 tiers above me, holy cow. And we do have a prize. It's that guy right there. Trying to go on a date, ladies?
Oh, Kathy just tuned out.
He looks basically the same. Yeah. Still as bland.
Yeah.
And that's our show. So thanks for tuning into the OH Report video podcast today. If you like tournament basketball, boy, the last hour and 28 minutes was certainly for you. Hayden, why don't you tell the people something they need to know before we get out of here? So long.
Check out every morning for who we're covering every day. I promise I'll tell you. I promise I don't withhold any secrets. We're covering who's on the picture, and sometimes we'll get a surprise. That's it, though. Simple as that. No.